Days, where's our race? 11 days? Where's our race? 11 days? Where's our race? 11 days? Where's our race? When I say union, you say power. Union! Power! Union! Power! We're here to deliver an ULP notice to Dean Johnson up there on the 5th floor. So, yeah. So I'm going to ask everyone who is in the Gonda picket line to start walking towards the entrance of the building.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
All right, so we are here at the UCLA student workers strike. I wanted to ask you today a little bit about why you guys are on strike, but also I think one of the largest sticking points is the grant money that comes into the university. That money is really important to the funding of the university system. That grant money wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you folks bringing it in. Have you had any traction on that in your negotiations?
So I think the issue with grant funding, well, first of all, to answer your initial question, the primary reason we're on strike is because we've been trying to negotiate our contract across 4 different units, which involves students and also academic workers like myself. And you know, we're making a number of requests, like for compensation that keeps up with inflation, keeps up with the cost of living in some of the most expensive housing markets in the country. So there's all these kind of things that we need support on in order just to like get to a point where our workers can afford to live in the places where they work. A huge part of funding at the university is grant money, and one thing we've been contending is that without our workers, the capacity of the UC to pull in grant funding would be way less. And then kind of indirectly, and this is not something we're necessarily negotiating on directly, but this is something that we keep in our mind, is the fact that whenever somebody at the UC, whether it be an academic worker or whether it be a principal investigator, like a faculty member, you know, using a team academic worker, brings in grant funding, the UC takes a huge portion. We're talking 50 or 60%. And there's really not been a lot of transparency about what exactly that overhead is for, and that's something that we've been pointing out. So the reason this matters to us is because when the UC says like, oh, we don't have enough money to pay, you know, give you the raises you're asking for, or to like, you know, give you support on housing and transportation and childcare, what we want to know is, well, what about all the money you're taking for overhead? That's kind of what we're doing. We're not necessarily demanding that they reform their overhead, but we think this is something that the UC should take a big consideration from. I think it's something that unites both academic workers and faculty, because at the end of the day, we're all in kind of the same boat against the administration.
Yeah,
on this
let
issue.
me ask you this. Also, adjunct professors, I know that's not necessarily part of your strike today, but I'm also fascinated by the fact that the system is relying heavily at this point on adjunct professors versus the old school method where they would have full-time professors, tenure professors. And I know that that's part and parcel to diminished funding for the university, which is also partial to cuts from the state.
Right.
So all of these sort of things are working together. Have you had any support from the adjunct professors that are also sort of having their own beef?
You know, we've had support from faculty. The support hasn't been delineated of like, this is what the adjuncts aren't, as far as I know, like speaking as one body, but we have gotten support from faculty that we really appreciate. And like I said before, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that the faculty and the workers share in common interests, and chiefly like, you know, like getting the UC to be more transparent with us about what exactly do you need all that money for overhead for. I think that's the first step, is just like shed some light on it.
And there is massive income inequality, just to clarify that for folks that aren't familiar with the details here as well. Student workers, the postdocs, you have to teach classes and courses, grad students teach classes and courses. The pay is nil to basically a stipend, which is not a lot of money, especially in Los Angeles. So it's reasonable for you to be asking, I think, for this money. What does the management say back to you guys when you say this stuff? They know it's low.
I think what the UC says is like, you know, we would love to give you what you're asking for, but we just don't have the money for it. Like if we give you the raises you're asking for, it's going to put us in a hole financially. And again, it goes back to, we think that there's a lot of money there, there's enough money there. I mean, after all, the workers that are bargaining now make up about 3% of the UC budget. So we're not asking them to, you know, if they give us a marginal increase on the 3%, we're not asking them to devote, you know, 50% of the budget to us.
No, and the management does make most of them well into the six-figure salary. So there is definitely discrepancy in what's being paid here.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, like, we definitely point out that like a lot of our workers, especially the graduate students and postdocs, aren't making enough to keep up with the cost of rent in Los Angeles as well as all the other UC campuses. The fact is that having a university is actually something that drives value up. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you put a university in the city, it becomes more attractive, more people move there. If you don't build enough housing, which is the problem across California, then the only result is that rents and home prices are going to keep going up. And we're just asking for at least to make enough to keep up with the rate of inflation, which right now is, you know, 8 or 9% at least.
UCLA. Why, you wonder? Because last week, graduate students in life sciences received a letter signed by the dean where they tell us, quote, an employee may strike and withhold their labor, but as a student, they're responsible for maintaining academic progress towards their degree, end quote. In other words, they're telling you all, get back to the lab. How do you feel about that? That's right. Let me tell you, everybody, this kind of of letter, this kind of messages implies that the labor that we do from this university is nothing more than homework. Spreading fear and misinformation amongst workers who are forced to enroll in filler courses, right? Like the independent study classes that we have to take to be a student, to get healthcare, to be here. It undermines our status as de facto workers. How do you all feel about that? And like we mentioned earlier, to make matters worse, it's been 11 full days since our bargaining team passed a proposal, an economic proposal, and we have yet to hear back. So we're doing our part, but we have to hold them accountable. That's what we're here for today.
I spend my days coding. Every week I met with my manager, and sometimes we had whole team meetings across time zones. At the end of the month, I got a paycheck. Now I work as a student researcher. I spend my days coding. Every week I meet with my new manager, my PI. Sometimes we have whole team meetings across time zones. At the end of the month, or at the beginning of the month, or sometimes in the middle of the month, when UCLA decides to pay me not on time, I get a paycheck. Sounds like work to me. Who here knows a public school teacher? We've all heard, well, you were just meant to do this work, or you must really love teaching to put up with those conditions. These are the same patterns that I see all around me in academia. I'm told that I don't deserve to be paid like a worker because this is my passion. I watch my friends and my colleagues work through weekends and holidays because this is their passion. I hear from faculty, the same faculty who claim to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we shouldn't stand with our colleagues to improve working conditions for everyone because this is our passion. Over and over, we are told that we do not deserve the rights of workers because we are not workers, but students. Last Wednesday, the Dean of Life Sciences, Tracy Johnson, stated that, quote, a strike concerned with employee matters can be distinguished from student activities, including teaching or research coursework. This amounts to nothing more than intimidation, retaliation, and good old-fashioned union busting.